right. Hello, everybody. It is Amy O, and I am joined by Jasmine, and we are here today for another podcast and another video and another vulnerable piece of discussion for how to grow through what you go through and wanting to share some stuff with our audience here at Life Redesigned. So, hi, Jasmine.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having
me. You look beautiful as
Thank
always.
you.
I even feel like your skin is just like, it's glistening. You're so
Yes, so I
glistening.
just got this tattoo touched up. So that's
Oh, okay. Because I was like, is that just your normal skin glow? Because I'm
no,
so
I wish.
Okay. Well, your face is also glowing, so it just kind of matches and
Thanks,
goes.
girl.
So I'm super excited to have Jasmine on Life Redesign podcast today and talk. I'm so excited to talk with you today because I thought first we'd share a little bit on how we met, which was like so random, and how we even grew a friendship, which is also more random. I'm trying to think of the very, very first time.
I think I met you doing makeup at Sephora.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So yeah. I went in, this is good because we were talking about doing things for yourself. I went in to do something for myself. I wanted to get my makeup redone. We met at Sephora and I was all like, oh my gosh, you're a magician. And you were telling me all these tips and tricks. And then I talked about Flirt and you knew some people that went to Flirt. And then I was still reaching out to you, like sending you pictures of my makeup. Remember that?
Yep.
Because I was like, did I do my eyeshadow right? Did I do this right? And you were like, it looks good. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I feel like I still need to send you makeup pictures because I still am terrible at doing my own makeup. But anyways, that's how we met. And then we ran into each other. No, then after that, we had lunch at Panera to talk a little bit about trying to collaborate business-wise. And then that kind of didn't lead anywhere. And then we ran into each other at church.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience because I saw your vehicle in the parking lot and it said Flirt Fitness on it. I was like, no way, I think Amy goes to church here. Yeah. I'm gonna have to find her and say hi because I was like, that is like, to me, stuff like that is like signs like, hey, pay attention to these people. And I'm like, okay, hey, let's go talk to her, because, and then I found out you kind of work there, which was awesome.
Yeah, because I think I was volunteering in the cafe, and that's kind of where he would come in. So yeah, I was feeling that too. I was really feeling like, all right, there's a reason, right? There's like a reason that we are like continue to get meshed into each other's lives somehow. So then a summer was approaching, I think soon after that. You were pregnant, and then we did a Bible study together in the summer.
Oh my gosh, I was pregnant. I didn't even remember that. That's crazy.
And that's when I learned more about you and literally super fell in love with you even more because I realized we had a lot of the same history and past.
Yes.
And I thought we could kind of dive into that a little bit. All of you guys that are listening, the majority of my Life Redesigned family doesn't really know about me and my past that way. And so I thought we could kind of maybe together share that. But can you give us just a little bit of history and a snippet of your story? And then this is like Amy and Jasmine love story. This is like how I fell in love with you, is knowing your past and everything that you overcame and where you were. I fell in love with that. So I'd love for you to share.
Yeah, so it's a really long story. I've been through a lot in my life of 30 years, and it starts out at a young age. I started really getting into bad habits and things at like 12. Like I was 12 years old. I started drinking rum and alcohol really young, and I held on to that with certain friends and groups like that influenced me to be that way. And I was on a lot of medication by doctors, and on top of that I was mixing it with alcohol, and it just wasn't a healthy vibe. And I had a boyfriend at the time who was very unhealthy too and a lot older than me. And that led into a lot of stages in my life of drinking a lot by the time I was 16. And then I stayed only with alcohol for quite a few years there. And then I finally left that guy and got rid of a lot of my toxicity of as far as friendships and stuff like that. My life changed around that time. And by the time I was like 18, I started getting into harder drugs, which was really something I never thought I would do. You know how like you go through life and you're like, oh, I would never do that when you're young. And then
Yeah.
and it happens.
Yeah, or you're like doing the like soft, like the softer drugs, thinking like, well, I'll stick in like this division, but I'll never go to that part. You know what I mean? Or never go to the
Exactly.
harder ones. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, so I got into harder drugs. I did that with another boyfriend, so it was a mixture of bad relationships and bad choices. And these were darker times in my life, but I was having a lot of fun, right? So
Mhm.
I really didn't notice that they were dark times, but I look back and I had journals on journals about all this stuff that I was basically in love with the drugs and I was just so miserable. Like I can even feel it now. It makes me really sad that I went through that because it was so blinded by trying to feel that euphoria, feel that love that you feel when you are in love. But my heart got broken a lot in that time, and I
Mhm.
would use drugs to basically replace that euphoria, replace that feeling of like love and being high on life and stuff like that. And that's why even now in my life, like I really try to voice to women, don't let relationships be your main focus, because there's so much more to you and there's so much more beauty that as women we can bring to the table, and we don't always need to be in a relationship, especially at a young age, um, to feel like you're a whole person. And that was a lot of my time with drugs and alcohol, is I really didn't feel whole, and I didn't feel like I was, good enough to be a whole person. And I
Mhm.
felt like at the time I felt like I was a better person on the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really glad that
You have that like the happy, right? And so even I think even if you know you're gonna get high later, there's a sense of like pre-euphoria. Like I
yeah,
remember always having that of like, even if I felt depressed during the week, during my time of just like doing drugs when I would be going out, because I went out all the time in my 20s, and just
yeah,
knowing that that's what I was going to do on Friday, that would create this like pre-euphoria in me before like the actual drug euphoria, and then yeah, it's just this cycle of you go through all. I was just watching the Marilyn Monroe documentary, and it's so crazy to hear. I was resonating with her because I was thinking, she has all these journals and all these tapes about how she's not good enough. She like nobody likes her. Like all these just negative, like a negative mindset. And when we think of Marilyn Monroe, it's like she was an actress. She was
mhm,
beautiful. She was breathtaking. She like they were showing her coming out of a psych ward that she checked herself into, and she was
oh
like,
yeah,
I feel wonderful. And it's like I think often we just have to like, we also have to put on that front too as a woman. But I was thinking her, I'm like, I so resonate with that, that cycle of you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, you have all these great things, but inside, because you're doing the drugs, you feel like
mhm,
nobody likes me, nobody cares, nothing, I have nothing going for me, my life
yeah,
is terrible. But then you just go back to the euphoria because you're like, I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel happy.
yeah, exactly. And there was a time where I started professionally modeling. So I did that for years. And of course, drugs and alcohol were influenced there as well. Photographers would buy us alcohol. I didn't have anyone buy me drugs, but I definitely did drugs on set and things like that were like nobody really batted an eye at. It just is what it is. And that's just what models do. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying models do that now. Like, everyone's different, but it is part of the industry where that is part of it. And I did drugs a lot, and I actually overdosed on cocaine and Klonopin. I
Oh.
overdosed, and I went kind of crazy in my head. Like I remember doing things that I'm like, no way in my right mind would I have done those things. And I checked myself into Pine Rest that same night when I was overdosing, because they had to rush me in the ambulance to the hospital. I had to get my stomach pumped. And I don't remember much of this. I just remember waking up in the ambulance looking at this guy, and he looked at me and was like, "You're too beautiful to be doing this to yourself."
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was just, that was huge for me, but it didn't change my life that day. That day is
Mhm.
not the day I quit. Um,
Mhm.
the guy I was seeing, like in the relationships I was around, were still influenced by the drugs. So when I got out of Pine Rest, it went right back into it. Like I went right back into the same cycle. And it took probably 2 more years for me, or maybe 1 more year, to really cycle myself out of that and take myself away from all the toxicity and all the people that I was around. And really, it was my responsibility to take my life and be like, I need change. This is not working. I remember having a bottle of Adderall and taking one and having this feeling of like the same feeling I had on cocaine and the same feeling I had on overdosing and things like that. And I got so mad at myself that I chucked the bottle and threw it all in the toilet. Like I was so angry. I was like, I'm done. Like I'm done with this part of my life. I need to change. And I quit cold turkey. I quit everything cold turkey when I was about 23.
What do you think? What do you think was the, because I think most people would think like, oh, that was the day that you got rushed and the day that you checked yourself in, like that would be like the moment that everybody would kind of think that that's what it was. What do you feel like happened in those 2 years that got you to make that decision on your own? Like what are some key things that happened?
Really being tired of my life, being tired of myself, really, like tired of doing the same thing over and over again that I know was hurting me, that I
Yeah.
know every time I went through it, I'm like, this hurts. Okay, this hurts again. All right, this sucks. This hurts again. Why do I keep doing this? And it was like a moment that I was like, what purpose do these drugs do for me? Like how do they benefit my life? Do I have peace? Do I have love? Do I have these things that are good for me? And I didn't have any of those things. And I ended up cutting all ties. I changed my phone number. Like I really dug deep and was like, I have to really cut it. Like you have to cut it all the way off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard. But even God talks about pruning. You have to prune the branches for more fruit to grow. And I didn't know this at that time in my life. I really wasn't following God. I didn't know anything about God at all, really. Like I knew the 10 Commandments and that was really about it. Like I really didn't know much, but I did know that in my heart that I wanted something better for myself. And
Yeah.
there was nobody was going to give that to me but me.
Yeah. And I think that, when you're in that drug phase, that it's like happiness runs out. Don't you think?
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely. Because you go really,
because
really high and then you get dropped all the way back down.
yeah. And then eventually there is no euphoria, right? There isn't that, or you just are like, this is fake. It's not real because it
Yep.
doesn't stick around and there's no peace that goes along with it. And when you spend all those years doing it, there is some sense of like, this is now getting to the point where it's actually boring, where it used to be fun at the beginning. It actually gets to the point where you're like, what, this is it? Like, this is the whole thing. This is everything that I'm going to do in my life. Well, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
This is what I love about you, Jasmine, is that you quit cold turkey. You did prune your branches. Like, I just love the fact that you made these steps. Like I'm so that way. And I'm so, I don't want to say aggressive, but I'm very just like to the point when I make decisions. And I know when I make a decision, it's like I just am balls to the wall of like everything that needs to be done to make it happen. And that too would include, something like that decision. And I love that it was just like, this is the time. And there wasn't all this like lingering stuff for you. It was like, nope, this is it. So tell us what you did when you made that decision. Tell us what you did.
So I feel like, how most addicts have a period where they either go to rehab or they have some sort of recovery period.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time relating with that sometimes because I picked up my stuff and I moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I moved to Los Angeles and I thought I was going to have this modeling career and stuff like that. And I really thought that was going to be my life. But little did I know that quitting drugs and alcohol had such a tie to who I was, even during modeling, that I wasn't that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't. Like, I was completely different. The way I would shoot was different. Like, doing photo shoots and stuff like that, like not on drugs and alcohol, like I felt different posing. Like I didn't feel the flow that I used to feel. And I was like, okay, this needs to change and something's different. But I picked up my stuff and I used to meditate for roughly 6 hours or more a day. So that was my rehab. That was my restitution of being able to recover, and being away from everybody here in Michigan. And really, it changed my life. I lost almost all of my friends when I moved to LA. Like, it, to most people from outside looking in, it probably looks like a really hurtful time because I lost everybody. Everybody kind of just left me hanging, and I changed my life. I left the modeling industry when I got to LA, which is funny. People are like, "Oh, you moved to Hollywood. Don't you think you would get more into it?" But I actually would meditate so much that I felt like I could hear God, and I felt like him telling me that I needed to leave the industry. And though right now, where I am right now today, I'm a little bit in the industry, but on more of the behind the scenes kind of background, it's different. It's different. I'm able to control more about who I work with, who I talk to, versus the toxic people that I ended up working with.
Yeah, who you're around. So I love that because, you know, the first thing that I always talk about with any of my clients is mindset. That's the number one thing. And it's like, you just can't go into anything unless you have the right mindset. And I think people miss that. It's like, well, do I have everything written down on paper? Or, you know, even if they want to start a business, is my business plan right? Is my this? And I always say, do you believe that you can do this? Do you want to do this? And what is your mind telling you? Because that is what is the key to moving forward, you know, because you're going to have hard days. You're going to have days where you fail. You're going to have days where it doesn't look like you're going to make it. And what's going to get you through that, well, as you and I know, like, and depend on, is obviously the Lord, but it's also your mind of meditating on, what does peace look like in your life? And do I believe these things? And what am I telling myself? Who am I around that's feeding into my mind? That matters so much. So much. Yeah, I resonate with that so much. I remember going to this event actually not too long ago and seeing a lot of people that I haven't seen since my days of that time. And I got sad when I got home. I was really sad. One, because I actually thought to myself, that was a long time of my life. I wonder, I wish I could be who I was now then, to even be able to influence other people. You know what I mean? But I have to be hard with that, because then I think shame comes with that. Did you have any of that? Did you have any shame, guilt, any of that stuff that you had to work through? Yeah.
A lot. So the modeling I did was very more provocative, sexy style modeling. And that's what I was known for. I was known for that, and I was popular for that. And that's one way to talk about the world. The world is, you know, jump on clout like that. That is what's cool at the time. And a lot of people like that. And a lot of people still like that about me now. They like, old photographers will hit me up occasionally and be like, "Hey, you want to shoot?" And I'm like, I'm not going to bring that same energy, point blank, because I did have shame about it, that I showed off and used my body in that way. But I don't shame any women for doing it now. I don't, or even doing it in your past. Like, I don't shame you for that. And that's something I even wanted to talk to you about, because you do the flirt fitness and stuff like that. Like, there's no shame in a woman's body, but the way I used it at the time was not the way I felt like, for me personally, that God wanted me to use it for. Because of all that entailed with it. Like, it wasn't just the photo shoots. It was
like, what's the motive behind why you're posing this way? What is the motive behind like what you're of like why you're wearing this or looking that way, or your eyes are even doing this? Like, what is the motive behind that?
And a lot of the time, photographers had their own vision and what they wanted to see, and sometimes I would just bend to that will and not say, "Hey, I want to do this for me. Like, I want to look like this for me." And a lot of time I did shoot for me, and a lot of the photos, not saying that it was all them, that a lot of the photos were on my end too. But at looking back, I can't post like 80% of my photos. And I mean, I could if I really wanted to. Like, I'm sure people now in 2022 don't really care, but like, I have children now, and I have things like that I care about, that I want. Like, I was just telling my husband, I'm like, I don't always want like to be walking in the room and every guy look me up and down because of what I'm wearing. And that's just a personal choice, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't want shame at the same time being a woman and being attractive. Like I don't
Yeah.
want shame in that feeling, but I had that for a long time, and I had shame. I didn't, you know what? I don't feel like I had a lot of shame doing drugs though, for some reason.
Mhm.
Um, Only
I think there's
because,
peace in that when you heal from that though, don't you think? It's like when you truly heal from that, there's some sort of like closure and peace that comes with that,
yeah,
especially I think when you have knowing that God forgave you. I wish there was a way, well, although, with the Bible, but I wish there was a way to bottle up the feeling of when you have forgiven yourself and you know that the Lord has forgiven you. I wish there was a way to bottle that up and then hand it to somebody,
yes,
but
I
when they
agree.
have the shame and guilt, because it's so powerful.
Yes, I really struggled for a long time. Like, cause I wanted to try like fitness. I wanted to try like sexy stuff again because I'm a woman and I want to feel empowered and things like that. But I felt so much shame for doing that so much, like to the extent that I did, that I felt like I almost didn't deserve that. Like I didn't
Yeah.
deserve to feel that way anymore because I have become a mom and I've become this and that. Like I almost felt like I don't deserve to feel beautiful in my own body. But it doesn't have to always be that direction. I can do whatever. I'm just still, even to this day, working through that complex.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I think a lot of women do. I think that shifts a lot when you're a mother. I think it's,
yeah.
and then outside of whatever your past is, I think it's to me, it reminds me of grief. I mean, it reminds me of grief where you never know when guilt or shame is going to show up. You never know when, you could be having a great day and just something hits you in a way that you're like thinking about your past. And then all of a sudden, all of these thoughts of like, do I deserve this? Should I be doing this? Should I be here? Should I be having this role? Like, am I to
Yeah.
this? Am I that enough? And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, you're just overpowered by all of this. And I think it's, grief is always something that doesn't go away. It's just learning how to work around it and within it and knowing what to do when it shows up. So it's really allowing, like you had kind of mentioned, like I'm not going to let my past define my future, but I also
Hmm.
have to like navigate what that's like and how to regain confidence and regain really like who you are
Yeah.
without all of that stuff.
Yep, and I've had to do that, and it's been tough in that area, trying to figure out who I am without all that stuff, because a lot of the times our past, though it's there, will try to pull us back in and try to
Yes.
make you do the same thing. And that's what I navigated trying not to do. Like I still do a couple photo shoots here and there throughout the year, but a lot of it's really aimed towards my makeup business and my beauty business and things like that. But I also have a Jasmine Sue Part 2 page as well that is focused on me and who I am as a person beyond a makeup artist and beyond this. But it's like gathering my image, like grabbing it by the fist and being able to make it what I want it to be and not be influenced by the world. Like sexuality, being sexy, being beautiful, showing off your body is all this world's age. It's totally in this world. And like I said, if I was a model now and doing what I did then now, it would still be just as popular. Like people would be loving it. But do I feel like
Yeah.
that's who I am, and that's where I can gain the most purpose and feel like I am whole again and feel like that is who I am, and that's the message I want to send to the world.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a big part
So
of.
meditation was a big part of that. I want to hear the story about how God came into your life and how from this past that we've been talking about, you and
Yeah.
I, how funny is this that, I mean, not funny, but God was after us, like we
Yes.
ended up at a Bible study together. If you would have asked us 10 years before that, hey, you're going to end up at this Bible study with this other
Oh
girl,
girl, if we were
this
both in
other
high school
tatted
together,
girl, you're going to be tatted together with the same past and in a Bible study. What?
we would have been like, ha, yeah, right.
I love it though. Yeah.
Yes.
Share with us like how God came into your life.
So I did not call God by God. I did not call Jesus by Jesus. I called upon the universe, and I was really into new age spirituality for a long time. So I started meditating. I met a meditation teacher out in Los Angeles, and I started meditating, and I was in this whole, he was very I want to say toxic positivity. And if he's seeing this, I'm so sorry, but this is the truth about how I felt. Um, at that time is I felt like it was toxic positivity because he would teach that it's all light, it's all good, it's all everything. And that's one thing I do love about God to this day is that he turns the bad into good. But
Yeah.
that does not say we are limiting or making small of the darker things,
Yeah.
because you and I both know we've been through dark pathways in our life.
Yeah.
So I can't minimize that and say that those things didn't happen, because they did.
Part of the story.
They were dark.
Yeah, it's
But
part of the story, and it's part of the story, and it matters to the story.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So that was part of the reason I ended up venturing in different directions versus just his meditation teaching. But I was grateful for his presence in my life, opening up that door to meditation and understanding I could find peace outside of what I was doing, but I didn't stay in the New Age spirituality. You started meditating, and then I met another meditation teacher who taught me to meditate in a different way. This way, the first way I was taught was with my eyes open, which was, I think monks do it and things like that. But I started meditating that way. And then after that, I started meditating with my eyes closed, and I would have more visions, and see more things clearly that way. And I meditated for, like I said, 6 hours or more a day. Like it would take up most of my day. And that's really what I would do. I would meditate and journal, and I would have very life-changing experiences. And this is in the same time where I moved to Los Angeles and I was meditating out there and things like that. And when I was living in LA, I was meditating, and I felt like I could hear angels, and I felt like I could hear things that most people couldn't. And this was at a time where I thought I was something that I wasn't. And then God came to me and told me to leave the modeling industry, and he basically appeared himself to me spiritually. And I was like, holy crap, this is God. Like, I didn't call upon Jesus quite yet, but I like knew in my heart that that was God at that time telling me that I need to change my life. So fast forward through living through LA, I actually moved back to Grand Rapids, and met up with my now husband, who took me to church one Saturday night. And just as friends, we were just going to church Saturday night. And this is a crazy story because they had an altar call. And the altar call said, if you are basically willing to come up and change your life, come up to the altar call. So I walked down the center aisle, and the ground shook. Like I really felt the ground shake beneath my feet. And as I walked down this aisle, I walked to this woman pastor who prayed over me, and she prayed over every male encounter I've had, every relationship I've had that really destroyed my life. And it made me cry so heavily because she was talking about all these things about men that made me realize that I was giving my crown away to men when I was supposed to be giving it to God. And that was a life-changing moment. I have not looked back since. And I know for a fact that Jesus was there that day, and that he took me that day. He really saved my life and changed my whole life around. And now I call him by his name, and I do not question any other, like I don't call upon the universe and things like that. I know it's God. I know it's Jesus, that he's going to take care of my life, versus the other where it was such a burden to feel like I have to have so much control. And it's hard to control the outcome of your life when
yeah. So I love that. I just got goosebumps and tears in my eyes.
Oh,
I love that story. It's so powerful.
Yes.
What are some things that when I always talk about, I talk a lot about how I redesigned my life. And I think for women, we often, will think, okay, there's like this part of our life, and then there's this like one decision, and then there's like that part of our life. But I think what we often miss is that we're constantly redesigning, and we're constantly growing, and we're constantly learning from life, from people in our life, from the steps that we take, from our communities, all of that. And my passion within this community is to share that your past really doesn't need to define your future. And your past could be yesterday. It could
Yeah.
be 2 hours ago, you know, as even as mothers, like we were talking about earlier, there's so much mom guilt that comes with being a mom and then being a working mom. And you're like, oh my gosh, do I have to leave my child right now to go work? Do I have
Yeah.
to leave them to go do this or do this interview or, you know, whatever that might look like. But it's constant. It's not like this one thing and then you redesign and then this is how it's going to go for the rest of your life. Or even growing up, it's like I think there comes a lot of disappointment, right? Because it's humanity, it's the world, and there's so much disappointment in our lives and with humans in general that I
Yeah.
thought my life was going to be this way. Part of it was not, but I can change it. I can redesign it and I have to figure out what those steps are for me to take in order to really make it the life that I want because you can. And I just feel like you're such an inspiration to be heard from and your story of like where you are now and what I love most about where you are now is how confident you are in you. You are such a confident woman and you are so confident in everything that surrounds you. I would love to know and I would love for you to share any habits that you have that are daily or monthly or any rituals or anything that you do with your family that you can share with others if they're in a position that you are and they're like, you know what, I want to change my life like Jasmine did. I want to take control. I want to
Yeah.
move forward. I want to change the path. I want to change the pattern. What could you give to them for suggestions?
Biggest thing for me, prayer. Point
Yeah.
blank. I pray morning, day, and night. I pray with my husband. I pray with my daughter. I pray with my teammates sometimes when I do weddings and do makeup events. I really put prayer over my life, and I believe in the power of the tongue, of life and death in the word. So speaking positive over yourself, speaking like we were talking about earlier, believing in yourself, putting your mind to it. Like you really got to believe that you are better than what you have been, and
Yeah.
believe that you can be better. But also taking accountability and making sure you understand and accept the bad habits that you have, and being able to be like, hey, these, and take a notebook. Definitely have a notebook and write these things down. I used to write a full page of affirmations. That's how it started. And then also gratitude log. Be grateful. Be grateful every day for something. Be grateful for the breath in your lungs, to the house over your head, just the little things, just to keep yourself pumped up and keep yourself motivated to keep going, because discipline and motivation don't always come naturally. There's
Yeah.
sometimes something you have to chase after yourself.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that. And
of
then
course.
fast forward, we need to talk about this amazing man that's in your life because you're married, you have a daughter, you have your own business. So share with us just where you are now and then share with us how everybody can follow you and get to know you and book you when they get married in 3 years because you're so busy,
Yes.
because you're so amazing. Yeah, share with us.
Thank you. Yes. So I just got married in November. We've been together. This will be like our 7th year we're together, but we just got married in November. We have a
Beautiful.
daughter and we have a son, 4-year-old daughter, 18-year-old son. Amazing family. We're very different. We're entrepreneur lifestyle.
Mhm.
We both work from home, and we're very grateful for that, to be able to be with our family and to do things different, do life different.
Yeah.
Um, it's not always easy, but it's amazing. And I'm very happily married. I'm really into it, very dedicated on being a wife and being a mother. And this is all new for me. Like
Yeah.
we said, 5 years ago, or not 5 years ago, more like 10 years ago, I would have said, no way, I'm not getting married. No way am I having children. No
Yeah.
way. And everything's changed. And it's just beautiful. He's also my manager. So he helps manage my business, which is great. He's a talent manager himself, so he manages models, rap artists, singers, as well as now makeup artists, which is me.
Yay.
And I'm very grateful for that. We do a lot with fashion. We do a lot with our life in general. And booking wise, I have a website, which is rosehandart.com. And then I have Facebook, Rosehand Art and Co., Instagram, Jazz Rosehand. All of these ways you can book me. I do everything from weddings to quinceañeras to photo shoots, fashion shows, anything you can really think of where you might need a beauty touch, I'm there. I really can't complain. I don't have any much toxicity, and if I do, I know it comes from me usually, and that's where I usually have to check myself and
Yeah.
just understand that I can be better, like we said, move on, get better next moment.
Yeah. And I think so much of what you have talked about is there's always a choice, right? You always have a choice in
Absolutely.
everything that you do. And when we feel like we're stuck, often people will say to me, well, you know, and I'm sure people say this to you all the time, I don't know how you do what you do. And I just make the choice that I'm going to do it. It's just
Yeah,
my choice. And then the time provides, or things end up getting done, but it's the choice that I believe that I can, and then the choice that I'm just going to make a choice that I'm going to. So
exactly.
I love everything that you have talked about today. I love everything that you stand for as a woman, and
Thank you.
I love hearing you talk about being a mom and a wife, and I don't know, just all the things. I love you as a human,
I
that.
love you too, girl.
Yeah, it's been such an awesome. While we have not seen each other a ton, we think of each other often, message each
Yes.
other often, pray for each other,
Yes.
share little Bible verses in our Bible app that we have. And I know that you've always got my back as a Christian woman, and
Always,
know
girl.
that you always have mine. So it's
Mhm.
been awesome to see. Even though I didn't know you then, I know you now. But it's even been awesome to see you bloom and grow since that very first time that I met you. I can see so much in you, and it's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Yeah. Oh, and side note, if you need to see, Jasmine did my maternity makeup for my maternity pictures. I think they're
Yeah.
still on my Facebook
Yeah.
page. She's amazing, as you'll see. So definitely hit her up on her website, all of her social media channels, follow her. She's amazing. And thanks for being here today. And we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thanks.